Scot. We're checking out Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer. The boys were checking out the single player. They had a ton of fun, but we're jumping into multiplayer. It's been a few years since I played a COD multiplayer that I've really, truly enjoyed, so I was excited to kind of get my hands into Modern Warfare 2. I jumped into the beta. I had a lot of fun. There was definitely some issues at the time, but I think they've smoothed some of the stuff out coming here to the full launch of the game. So I was excited to kind of just jump in and see, what's new and what kind of brings me back to those, COD Modern Warfare 2019, even remastered days, kind of back into that. And I was hoping to feel like I was getting the same experience. And honestly, they did a good job here. I've had a ton of fun playing so far. We're getting all those same kind of multiplayer game mode offerings. I'm playing the team deathmatch, the dominations, headquarters is one of my personal favorites. You can play search and destroy. You're going to talk about a couple of the newer game modes that you jumped in and checked out, which is pretty cool. They kind of giving everybody a little bit of everything here. I'd say probably the biggest change overall with the Modern Warfare multiplayer is that we're getting a kind of a whole new gunsmith system. Our games before, we used to play, you start with this AR, you get all the attachments, all the camos, okay, move on to the next one. You're going to do the same thing, all the attachments, all the camos. Now the gunsmith, we're getting kind of a little more of a complicated system, I'll say. I think the change of it all is really where the negativity is coming from the community, but overall I think this is a system that's going to work better, especially for future COD games as we kind of move forward here, because there's a ton of guns in Call of Duty. There always has been. It doesn't matter which version of the game we're playing, there's always a million guns to go through. Well, with this new gunsmith system, we can actually change out the receiver of the weapon, and that allows us to actually unlock kind of different guns in the same class, all based off of one M4, or if you're working off an SMG like a AK-74U or something like that. There's other guns you unlock as you level that one up. You get the attachments for that, and then you kind of get the next gun in line. Well, you already have all those attachments, and now you can start working towards the next set of attachments and things like that. I know me even describing it probably is a little confusing, but once you see it kind of on screen and laid out in front of you, you start to understand how that system works. And so far, I'm actually having a ton of fun kind of unlocking these different guns and these different trees. The only thing I'm going to say I'm not a huge fan of is, depending on the weapon, some attachments will require you to level up a completely different weapon just to get that one attachment. This is part of the new system. I'm trying to get used to it. I don't want to complain about it because I do think they've done a few good things here, and my overall experience so far has been a ton of fun. Scott, what about you? Have you been having fun playing this one or what?
I have. I've been a little bit lost in the complication, though. The idea of the gunsmithing was just a little bit too detached for me to really make sense of, but I am a gun nerd, absolutely. So the idea of changing the different receivers to have different kinds of calibers firing through these guns is really cool, and that is something that's reflected in real life really well. But I get past that little minutia, the very tiny details you're able to play with, and there's a lot of these kind of extra detail added to the game. For example, if you're running around with your main weapon and you need to switch to the pistol real fast, it's usually an emergency situation. So you keep your hand on your main weapon. That main gun is still in your other hand while you pull out the pistol. And I thought that's just like another tiny amount of realism. We're used to Ground War being a larger game type, but this one just makes the map absolutely giant. There's their version of a conquest mode, which is just, capture all the points on the map and hold it as long as you can. And then there's also the invasion game mode, which adds a whole lot of NPCs to the game, and that's again another one that I was a little confused on. What's my objective here? I'm really impressed with this kind of graphical overhaul to Call of Duty that we've experienced the last few years. The last few iterations have been beautiful games. The sound design is always good there. When you hear the A10 Warthog streak over above you and that machine gun open up, it's very satisfying. All in all, I think I'm really appreciating this Call of Duty around. I don't think it stands up to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 from my high school days, but it does give me a bit of that return. And I'm so tired of World War II, so moving on from Vanguard, this was very welcome.
Well, Scott, honestly, man, we could probably talk about this for quite a while, but we are only covering half of this game here by the multiplayer. So I think we got to cut ourselves a little bit short here, and we got to score this one up. If you've got to score Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer, what are you going to give it out of 10?
Well, I think it is absolutely solid as a base game. There's enough of an iteration here where they've gone into the detail surrounding the game. So if you're in spending the hours, the real time playing it, you have a lot of things to kind of focus on. And I really like that. Now, considering that, plus the idea that this has moved on from Vanguard, it makes it very obvious that this is much more of an enjoyable experience, at least for myself. Like I said, you take that World War II out of it, and maybe Vanguard plays a little bit better, but having that actual real world kind of realism, again, it's Call of Duty, you're not going to be realistic, but having the right equipment for the job is something that stands out to me as a gun nerd. I really think this game has enough to stand on its own for quite some time. I'm there with an 8. I think this is actually a very solid Call of Duty game amongst the others.
Nice. You know what? I can't agree with you more. I'm right there with an 8 as well. I think they've just done a great job. This is a perfect step up from what we were, been playing for the last couple of years. So it's nice to see the improvements they made. Yes, no game is fully complete. I'm sure there'll be some people that say there's some things that are missing or need to be changed. But you know what? That's just a forever balancing issue with these games. For the entirety of their lifespan, there's always balancing issues. There's always things they're trying to make work. They try stuff that doesn't work. So honestly, I think this has been a great offering so far. I'm going to be playing a ton of multiplayer, maybe even more multiplayer than Warzone, even though that Warzone's out now. But honestly, Scott, I'm just having a blast playing this one. I'm right there with an 8 as well.